Looking into your family history can be fascinating and surprising. One woman discovered she was related to a notorious Great Lakes captain. As chief photojournalist Corey Atkins shows us in tonight's Sightseeing in Northern Michigan, that started her on a search for answers.
The story of her loss, I think, is one that should be told again and again.
It was a beautiful August morning when members of the Great Lakes Shipwreck Historical Society and a descendant of Captain Jimmy Owen of the Henry B. Smith ventured into Lake Superior to the site where 26 men died.
The Henry B. Smith was one of the last vessels to go down in the storm of 1913.
This story starts when Kathy Pletch from Goderich, Ontario was working on her family's genealogy.
And my sister had some notes that my mother had given her at one time saying that she had a granduncle who had drowned. And when I went looking, I said, no, we don't have any that are unaccounted for. And I saw James Owen. And when I looked in the family Bible and saw his death date, it said November 9th, 1913.
She found that Captain Owen was her great-granduncle who died in the Great Storm of 1913, the result of a bad decision.
We know when the Henry B. Smith left port, it was into a lull in the storm. About 3 or 4 miles outside of the city of Marquette, the storm struck with renewed fury. That ship began to just take the full brunt of it. And Captain Owen had a choice, and his choice was either trying to return to Marquette. If he turned back into the waves like that, the chances of him capsizing was certainly very significant. Or his other choice was to run northwest into the bulk of the storm, but heading for the shelter of the Keweenaw Peninsula. That's what he elected to do.
The Smith, caught in the equivalent of a freshwater hurricane, had nowhere to go.
Very slowly, the storm took that ship apart. It just pounded it to death. And very likely at some point during that evening, she was facing waves in excess of 32 feet in height and at least winds in excess of 75 miles an hour.
The Henry B. Smith was discovered 2 years ago by Jerry Eliason and Ken Merriman of the Shipwreck Hunters. On this day, Kathy floats over where her great-granduncle died, along with his crew.
All those men died there. And I think everyone sensed that. Besides the shipwreck, there were bodies down there, and they should be remembered.
But just as the ROV got to the Smith, a resistor blew. This is video from the Shipwreck Hunters 2 years ago.
We went out on the David Boyd, hoping to see the wreck, and the ROV, as you know, broke down, and we did see a glimpse of it, and we saw a side scan of it, so we know we were right over it, and that's thrilling. I wish that I had seen it, of course, but it was an absolutely splendid day.
Because in the end, it's all about the memory of the people who were aboard the Smith, their stories.
These were real people with real families and stories, and it's not just the shipwreck, it's the men on the shipwreck that are the real story.
For Sightseeing in Northern Michigan, I'm Kevin Essabaggers.